Hello, Sheeple. I've made a few notes on a few subjects I'd like to talk to you about tonight. A little bit scrappy, but you can work with me if you want to. I'd like to start with some of the implications behind the Freedom Convoy in Canada, Ottawa. This was started from January the 21st to February the 21st of this year. Now, I think this event has quite enormous significance, and it really sums up where us sheeple have failed yet again, unfortunately. Now, this convoy was made up of Canadian truckers and their supporters. And they were primarily protesting against all the draconian COVID-19 mandates. Now, these were peaceful, well-organised protests, despite what you may have heard in the mainstream media. And of course, they were met with just the usual brainwashed thugs that that we've met here in Australia and pretty much a number of places worldwide. Brainwashed thugs known as police in Canada. In this case, they were the Mounties, and they're enforcing really fascist laws that were made up for the occasion. When I say that these laws were made up for the occasion, what I mean is the government in Canada, at present under Justin Trudeau, had no legal right to freeze personal and corporate accounts of anyone protesting the agenda. So what did they do? They just changed the law. So they've done it anyway. They changed the law and they did it anyway. And the government of Canada, under Justin Trudeau, also promised a no liability for actions clause to any financial institutions if they froze accounts and disgracefully showed personal and private information of anyone donating to this cause. People donating the cause were named, shamed, and harassed. Even insurance on trucks was suspended. So what does this say about the law? The law is just a tool for governments to keep us sheeple in place, just keeps us under control, and they can change it at will. When COVID-19 allegedly surfaced, governments of the world changed the law, or pretty much changed any law they felt like it. What frightens me, the speed at which we lost our freedoms means they weren't really freedoms in the first place. They were just temporary privileges granted to us by our owners. A great high-profile example of this, or what I think is a good example of what the law really is a case of charges of rape against Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew was an associate of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sure you've heard of him. And Jeffrey Epstein was guilty of some of the most horrendous crimes you can possibly be guilty of. Justice should have left no stone unturned. But this is Prince Andrew, and he had access to millions of pounds of taxpayer money that, of course, wasn't even his. And of course, the case didn't even go to court. Case dismissed 17th February 2022, this year. Yes, the money supposedly went to charities, which may or may not have been corrupt. But the fact that money is involved in this and nearly every court decision makes the courts and the law nothing more than, the courts are just a whorehouse. If you don't have money, or your views or persona are not fashionable, then you are highly likely to suffer and injustice. And us sheeple allowing this, of course, unfortunately, as usual, we're just pathetic. We allow this. This happens right in front of us, and we do nothing. Maybe we even support it. Now, the Freedom Convoy was quashed in less than a month with these immoral, made-up-on-the-spot laws and police bullying. Not enough of us supported their stand, and we will all face the consequences for this. And possibly this time, maybe we deserve it. The Canadian government and the governments of the world now know that if anybody stands against them, they can just throw around words like terrorist, conspiracy nutter, and destroy the lives of innocent people that merely want to protest for their freedoms, for our freedoms, for all our freedoms. Every time they get attacked, every time they face police brutality or government immoral laws, the governments know that they have the full support or the ineptitude of us sheeple. The governments of the world probably already knew this, as they already mandated away all our freedoms already with this COVID nonsense. And they faced little or no resistance. This Canadian Freedom Convoy was a glimmer of hope, another glimmer of hope that we let fade. It's pretty much all I have to say about the Canadian Freedom Convoy. But allow me to add a few thoughts about what's going on, what's with this world that we live in today. Now, it's becoming amazingly and horrendously clear that we are sheep, and countries and borders are merely separate paddocks. And these paddocks do not affect the elites. Our food and water contain chemicals we don't understand. They're sprayed all across our skies. And we're now being forcefully tested and injected with an incredibly dangerous experimental jab. The governments may or may not know what these dangerous experimental jabs are going to do, but they're nothing to do with health. That's 100%. We'll soon be branded by technological means, be it barcode, chip, graphene, or whatever. Our numbers are to be reduced to a more manageable level via war or societal disruptions, such as disrupting the food chain or cutting our power supplies by attacking the grid, or just letting it fall into a state of disrepair. The remaining will live under 24/7 surveillance and absolute control. The first and third worlds are to be merged into one world of meagre existence. Now, we didn't create this evil, but we've always allowed a third world of poverty, horrendous poverty, slavery, organ harvesting, paedophilia, child sacrifice, and much more. Those who did create this evil are behind the government, they're unseen, and of course they're pulling all the strings. Just in case you think this is crazy, then let's take a look at this phenomenal, this amazing worldwide effort under the ludicrous COVID-19 nonsense and the climate change fraud. If this effort had been against world hunger and hardship, then there would be no more hunger or hardship. But this has never been the desire of the ruling elite. Why do so many people have lives that absolutely suck? We're supposedly so advanced. Why are so many people dependent on a ton of drugs to stay alive when, instead of being cured or not getting sick in the first place? So much there's mental illness, wars, injustice, infighting, A lot of people think we're evolving, we're getting so technologically advanced. This is a con, we're devolving, we're becoming more and more stupid, dumbed down, physically weak, dependent on drugs, dependent on government for our livelihood. We can't fix things, we don't know how to grow things, create our own food, we can't make anything. Many exceptions, but the masses absolutely completely dependent on the government. We're cattle, and this is intentional. If we can't get rid of these rulers, then we must disband the government. We've got to diminish its power. No more complying with their rules and our own demise. Don't let politicians and media whores divide us in the name of helping. It's always all the wars, all the draconian laws, everything they do that is evil is always in the name of helping us. Apparently they're helping, which really means dividing. They divide blacks over whites, women over men, gays over straights, Jews over non-Jews, poor over rich, on and on and on. The sole intention is to pit one group against the other, divide and conquer. The age-old tactic that always works. And we're very easy to divide, it seems. Most people are born with a natural sense of right and wrong. We know what hurts someone else, and we know what doesn't. We don't need and mustn't have an absolutely massively powerful centralized authority, known of course as a government. Yes, there's an enormous learning curve to live without a government, but we're being culled at the moment. We've got nothing to lose. Each community, each small group that we can create can grow their own food, make their own clothes, barter, trade, defend themselves when necessary. There's been ancient and much more harmonious civilizations in the past. More advanced and harmonious than anything we have today. We don't know much about this because academic history is a lie. If we can disband government, then true education, true evolution can take place. We can become more harmonious under natural law. If we can ever defeat the evil that's caused this, then maybe one day we can return to the old paradise, the old paradises that once were. Each thing that I've said, a lot of things that I've touched on are a completely separate video and, need a lot of explaining, but that's enough for one video. So, the moonlight fades with the morning glow. Goodbye, Sheeple.